All right, Lacey, we are currently live, and part of this is coming back into this. I know that we did a live a couple of days ago, and since then, we found out some potential new information that we just want to update everybody on. You also have a new Facebook page here as well that we'll go over, and what other people in the area can do to get a hold of you to participate in the search that you guys have going on. Is that all right?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. So to bring everybody up to date, let me just jump over here is to who Robert and Loveda are. We have a elderly couple, and Lacey's on the phone, who is the granddaughter. We have an elderly couple out of Aurora, Nebraska. We have Robert, who is 89 years old, and Loveda, who is 92 years of age. Now, the thing with this case is that Loveda picked Robert up from the hospital around between 6 and 8 p.m. Do we have an exact time on that, Lacey? I was still unclear on that the entire time we were there.
That would be, let me look back in my notes here. They were discharged at 8:04 p.m. from the St. Francis emergency room.
Okay. So at 8:04 p.m., they leave the hospital to go home to Aurora, Colorado. And I'm going to bring this up on the map over here. And
Aurora, Nebraska.
I'm sorry, Nebraska. Colorado came into play so many times on this case that we'll let people know why I've been saying Colorado on this one. So we have the Proctors, your grandma and grandpa, are from Aurora, Nebraska. They go over to the VA around 4 p.m. The ambulance the VA, then they put Robert, your grandpa, in an ambulance, take him over to the hospital. Your grandma gets lost following the ambulance from the VA hospital here over to the hospital, but eventually she makes it. Around 8 p.m., your grandpa is just like, you know what? I'm not seeing the doctor. I'm not getting the information that I want. Just get me out of here. Your grandma she's a saint. She takes him. She gets lost just leaving the hospital, going out to the car, and cannot find her own car in the parking lot in the handicap stall up front.
Yes, that is correct.
From there, we have around 10 p.m. And this is two and a half hours later, down here in Giltner, she is spotted 3 different times. She's spotted where she actually knocks on somebody's door over here in the northeast corner of town. She's then also picked up on camera 2 additional times from the camera here at the school at the intersection, where she's spotted, leaves for 10 minutes, returns, and then she makes her way down Giltner east towards her home, towards Aurora. She then stops off for directions at a farmer's property, asks for directions, backs into a flagpole on her way out, and then heads the correct direction for a short period of time until she hits 14. She does not make her way to the north. Instead, she makes her way and makes a right on 14th instead of a left on 14th. So she's now heading south. This area of interest that she was last seen at one moment in time was around 10:30. Now we need to fast forward to 1 o'clock in the morning, where she is picked up on video camera at the pump and pantry. She's picked up again over here at Sightings, where your grandma and grandpa actually get out of the vehicle. They are, make sure I've got the right screen on. Okay. Yeah. So they get out of their vehicle at the Sightings. They go inside for roughly 20 minutes. And during that 20 minutes, they get 2 Cokes. Your grandpa uses the bathroom. There's no indication, here we are after 1 a.m., that anything is wrong. They're not asking for directions or help. They then are seen on camera leaving and heading west. When they do so, from this distance to this distance, at 1:39, 7 minutes later, is when your grandparents are last seen on CCTV camera from this school right here. There's a camera on the edge, on the corner of the building over here. When we came in and we've spent 8 days doing a search in the area. This one area alone has over 53 ponds that we marked, that we went and we checked. And what we're looking for is, currently the couple went missing on January 11th. They were last seen January 12th at 1:39 a.m. And here we are 6-7 weeks after this, in the middle of winter, and anything right now is the best time to be out searching before springtime hits for the Proctors to be found. Because if a vehicle goes off the main road across a farm field or across grass, there are going to be indentations. It's going to lay it down. You're going to have either weeds or trees or the grass that's bent over. There's going to be some evidence that a vehicle has potentially entered a body of water. And that's what we've been looking for. So spending 8 days here, we started to break it down. One of the first things that we did on day one is we went with a 5-mile radius, a 10-mile radius, a 15-mile radius, and focused on, are they within this area? But what we're working with here is we're working with Robert has full-on dementia. We have your grandma who she's not been diagnosed for any dementia, but she's, has glaucoma and she's been up for an extended period of time. But they're not leaving, even though they're asking for directions back in this area in Giltner. We don't have any idea why they were not asking for directions now, a few hours later, over here at the Senex in Hastings. Any idea on your part? I mean, I know the families had a little bit more time to talk about this, but any idea why at one point in the evening she would have been asking for directions, but now we no longer are asking for directions?
In my personal opinion, I think that maybe they felt a little bit of relief when they stopped there. They were able to use the restroom. They were able to grab some food and drinks. And, maybe they did speak with somebody outside of the gas station that we just haven't heard about. But that's just my theory, that maybe they felt a little relief and they just obviously aren't in the right state of mind. So they didn't think about it there.
Right. So then we fast forward to after 8 days of searching. On day 7, while we're searching, you get a phone call from, was it the detective or who called you about Lexington over here?
Actually, Bill told me about that. He said that Midwest Media by Melanie had contacted him and told him about this possible sighting. Okay. Otherwise, we had not heard about it until then.
Okay, so we follow up on a sighting over here at Walmart. Melanie is her name, with Midwest Media, and we spoke with the gentleman. He's there were 2 gentlemen that were in the vehicle. The son was driving the Ford King Ranch pickup truck, and they said that coming out of the Senex here, a couple almost ran into them and then almost hit them again at the stoplight right here. The son that was driving 100%, he says 110%. I know that it was a blue Chrysler Pacifica with a license plate 1030, because he goes, I made a comment to my buddy it was either his buddy or his dad that was in the truck. And he said, I specifically remember the license plate 1030 has stuck out because I made a joke about, well, that should have been 1040 on the license plate instead.
Yes.
This sighting is reported, and he says that he knows with 100% certainty the day and the time, because he was at the bank just down the road cashing his check, and the receipt says 3:30 p.m. on February 3rd. So we have your grandparents here with this credible sighting, February 3rd, 3 weeks after they have been missing.
Right.
Bring us into, and a lot of people are like, well, how come we're not checking cell phones and how come we're not checking, credit card statements? You want to just give us a little bit rundown, the viewers, as to the credit cards and the cell phone?
So my grandparents actually do not have a cell phone any longer. My grandpa got to the point where he was losing it. He was just getting very confused with people calling him, and it just got to a point where it was no longer of good use to him. It was almost causing more issues, and my grandma asked that we have it shut down. So we did that a couple years back, either a year or 2 years ago. And then as far as credit cards, they do not have a debit card at all. They have one Navy Federal credit card, but that has not been used in over 2 years. And if it is used, we will get an alert immediately and they will let us know. But otherwise, there's no tracking them. Okay. as far as that goes.
Okay. So then So on day 8, we start following that lead, and we end up going down on I-80. We get off so we can put our own eyes on the gas station and the let me pull it back up. Am I in the right town again? Yeah, so the Walmart right here. We then know that your grandparents, they keep stopping at pump and pantries, and Senex seems to be their two favorites as far as stopping
Yes.
off. So when
Yes.
we pull off, we take a look at the Walmart over here and notice that there's this Senex gas station right here. We go inside, and the cashier that is in there, and she gives us details that were not even clear and out there for everybody for this information to stick in their head. And what she said is that she said, I specifically remember February 3rd that I saw Robert. She says she was pointing to his tattoo on, or she said that he has a tattoo on his arm and he has a wheelchair. And when we started probing her as to what kind of wheelchair, she's like, well, it's a walker sit down wheelchair. So she was very specific about it. And they were in the store, and your grandma held the door for them to come in. And we spoke with the manager, or we spoke with the cashier, who then the manager came back, and they went to go through their footage, and they found the same thing that you found with the other Senex, is that after a short period of time of 2 weeks or so, it overwrites itself and there's no longer any footage there. Their footage only went back to February 7th, and the sighting here was on February 3rd. So it was a little disheartening, a little disappointing on that one. And so right now we have 2 separate witnesses. While we want to believe that it's very credible, we don't have actual video evidence. And so this is where, and I'll go into more of the search in just a moment, but let's drive people back over to your new Facebook page. And what's the best way for people to start getting a hold of you and reaching out to you? And I guess really what we need is in the Lexington, not just in the Lexington area, but we need everybody throughout this entire region to really start looking at their ring cameras, their gas station cameras. Are they staying at any hotels? If this sighting is real and legit 3 weeks later, what did they do to survive this 3 weeks? Did they end up getting a hotel? But the thing is, you have no credit card transactions. And so, you were a little unclear on how much your grandma might have in cash. Is it $1,000? Is it $5,000? What was normal for her? So just kind of brings into that entire world of your grandparents.
It's really hard to guess how much money they have on them. I really don't know how to answer that correctly, because I'm really not sure. Grandma could have $1,000 or more on her. Grandpa could have a couple $100 on him or more. I'm really not sure.
Okay.
That's a great question.
And so this is where we need, again, all of you to put the word out throughout all of Nebraska, Colorado,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you why Colorado in a moment, as well as Kansas, Wyoming, checking gas stations. If you have any friends, or if you're just in the area, stop in at these gas stations and just pester them. Hey, on February 3rd, do you have any sightings from, noon to 5 p.m.? Anybody in the area as far as hotels go? Are there anybody as far as, Bob and Loveda Proctor that checked into any of these cash hotels between the dates of January 11th to today? What are they doing to survive? Because the gentleman in the truck says, he's eating a sandwich. So, at the Senex gas station, we don't have any receipts, but, we've now seen and heard of your grandpa eating sandwiches on several occasions now. So so it sounds as though they're not going out to eat, but they keep getting food, drinks, and sandwiches along the way.
Right.
From there, what we ended up doing is we followed up on taking this here at Lexington, and we dropped down to, now this is, even though we are now only, 90 minutes or so to 2 hours away from Grand Island, we're 2 hours away from Aurora, heading west. Now we found that the further west we went, your grandpa and your grandma kept asking for, how do you get back to Aurora? When they would ask for a question, or when they would ask for directions to Aurora. Well, when you ask and you're from the area, it's like, how do I get to Aurora? you don't think of asking the state that you need to get back to.
Right.
And we found that the further west we went, especially when we were down here on Old 34, and we ended up down in McCook area and Bentley and this area down here, people started pointing us towards Aurora, Colorado. And one of the conversations that the cashier believes that she overheard was a conversation about Aurora, Colorado, and that your grandma actually mentioned Colorado. I don't know why, but she didn't mention Aurora, Nebraska. This is just all rumors, all hearsay. We find that a lot of times we have people that want to help out and they provide misinformation. So at this moment in time, we cannot say with 100% certainty that this is solid information for Lexington. But the challenges that we now run into, and Lexi is running into, is a couple of things. One is we're no longer working within a 5-mile radius of their home. We're no longer working with a 5-mile radius of where they were last seen, because now is this a potential last sighting? And the gentleman in the King Ranch says that he saw them getting on the interstate heading westbound, which is even further away. And so now the challenges that we ran into is here we are, Lexi, or I'm sorry, not Lexi, sorry, Lacey. So Lacey, asked for us to check a few more larger bodies of water in this area as well. Well, Johnson Lake, 100% solid frozen. We made our way over south of Bradley over here. In fact, first of all, we stopped off in Cozad. And the reason why we stopped off here is they have another Cenex that is right off of the freeway right here. And same thing, their video footage was no longer available. Roadway Inn, they didn't have any records of your grandparents staying there. We were really interested in if they would have gotten off, pulled over for a little break again, that maybe this boat ramp that was right here, that they might have ended up in there. However, everything is frozen here. And that's what we're finding through the entire area. And so now it really slows down the search that where do we go? We made our way up further. We went south of Brady, and you had some interest in this Jeffrey Reservoir as well. Same thing. We couldn't get onto the water, whereas before we were doing, some auger and we were doing some 360 work. But with the number of bodies of water in this area, we're no longer efficient. And your dad ended up having the auger on day 8. So we didn't do any sonar work over here. We didn't do any sonar work in the Johnson Lake either. Just so large and so vast that, like, where do you even start on those smaller bodies of water? We were able to really, drop the sonar in, or even the magnetometer that we were using, because they were smaller, we could clear them, but it's just impossible to do so when you jump to these larger bodies of water. So this is, so coming back to you, Lacey, this is where we need to drive people over to the new Facebook page that you set up, and your plan to city by city, the cry for help. Take it from here, Lacey.
Well, I guess our plan from here is just to try to continue this grid search pattern. And I'd kind of really just like everyone to start fresh. I know so many people have been out and they've driven roads and they've checked ponds or tree lines or whatever for us. But I feel like a new, fresh set of eyes, just let's comb the area again. And I'd kind of like to go from the last for sure sighting at the Adams Central roundabout, and I would like to do about a 250-mile radius around there, because that is what we suspect they would have less left for with their gas and their range of miles that they could reach. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on now. So if anyone is going out and doing any searching, and you can hop out and you can for sure clear areas where you walked up and you look down this hill or down this deep ravine and for a fact that they are not there. Please message me and let me know so that I can start marking off areas, and we can just go from there and try and cover as much ground as possible.
And I'm creating that 200 ring for you right now here on screen, so that way we can show what that actually looks like for a 200-mile radius. And the reason why we're choosing this 200-mile radius is because for your interest is because when she left the hospital, I guess let's back up to when she left Aurora around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she was seen getting gas at that moment in time.
Yes, she filled up.
Yes. Now, of course, we don't know if she's filling up while she was out, picking up sandwiches, getting Cokes throughout the evening.
Right.
So even though we're putting a 200 mile radius ring on this, we're going on the assumption at this moment in time is that she never bought gas again. Is that during 8 hours of driving, she would have used roughly 180 gallons of fuel with sitting, with driving, with cities stopping, with highway driving, leaving her with roughly 220 miles of fuel. And so that's what this 200 mile radius ring is. And really, I mean, it takes you over almost to Kansas City, Topeka, down to Wichita, Dodge City. I mean, it just becomes overwhelming. Even just everything that we did, even just in this one grid for day 7 was just so overwhelming as we're on dirt roads and paved roads and 60 plus bodies of water that we marked 53 of them, but we covered over 60 there, and we hit over, I believe, 300 bodies of water to identify if there was any entry into them. And in this time, we only identified roughly 7 bodies of water that we were even able to put the boat in, plus those that we were on over the top of it with the ice, with the magnetometer and the auger and the 360. So but then you have did they make it to Aurora? Why Aurora, Colorado? And was it because people kept pointing them that way? Right now, Lacey and her family, they don't have the answers. And, this is where we as a community, all need to come together. And that's why you guys are here, and we appreciate you being here. But, do jump over to, and the link is in the description, both on Facebook and YouTube for this video, for the Facebook page here. Jump over, and whether it's just, showing your prayers and your support, do so for the family. But if you're in the area as well, and there's anything that you can do to help spread awareness, the message, and to participate in these searches, Lacey and her family, they need all the help that you can get right now.
Yes, we do.
So, all right. As always, we're here for you, and anything else we can do for you.
I do.
At this moment in time, we do need to pull out of the area. We did dedicate 8 days to this, and we have our own families to get back to, and I wish that we could have, found them. But at this moment in time, we do have 2 live streams. I know that it definitely rejuvenated the local news in the area. I know that it also drove the state police, as well as the local police chiefs in both Aurora and Hastings were incredible to work with. They got planes up in the air. They've double checked the Platte River for us in sections that we weren't able to get our RV and we weren't able to drive into. So I know that Melanie is doing a great job with her organization as well to help spread awareness. And a lot, I feel like just this last week alone has really brought a lot of new attention to this, to your family for you.
Yes, I agree. It's been great. I've had a lot more people start sending me messages and texts and stuff again. So it's definitely bringing it all back to the surface for everyone, and pushing people to get out there and try and help us again. So let's organize this, and please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll go from there and try and get as much ground covered as possible, especially with this possible blizzard coming through the middle of this week. That's again scary, but.
Yeah. And, and part of the scary part too is not being able to get in pretty much once you hit pretty much Lexington, and everything west right now is completely frozen. And I know that when we first came into the area, it was frozen. It thawed. We got into some additional bodies of water that we had some potential, that were very probable that we started with the sonar. With the 360 where we were over the ice as well as the magnetometer. And by the end of the week on day 6, day 7, we were able to actually get back onto them because they had defrosted. So.
Right.
All right. Well, again, like I said, show everybody, show Lacey and her family, all the support you can, anything you can do to help them out. We appreciate you being a part of Adventures with Purpose with us. And we'll, fingers crossed, we'll have some good news for all of you to share with all of you, and that Lacey and her family will have some good news soon. So thank you for being part of this, and we'll chat with you later. Thanks. Bye.
Yes. Thanks everyone so much. We appreciate you and Adventures with Purpose. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. All right. We'll chat soon. Thanks, Lacey.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.